SMTN.
How's it going, everybody, and welcome to Shin Megami Tensei Network Link 364. I'm your host, Spencer Presley, and joining me for this very special podcast is you, me, and Dupree. Except Dupree is not going to be saying anything, and I will just be talking at you for the entire length of this show. So, hey everybody, here for a little solo Frasier cast for all 7 of you out there who are aware of what Frasier is and also Atlas fans. Please, somebody out there comment and prove me wrong with that statistic. So, it's been a really busy, I feel like a month at this point. Did One Piece Day in Dallas, did a long video about that, had some fun interviews. Naka Kon was 2 weeks ago at this point as of I'm recording this. Patrons will get this episode on Monday night on the 24th, and this will probably go live Friday. I've been kind of jumping around with upload days for the podcast, especially because we've been so weird with set shows or maybe delayed a day or two or an embargo or something we're waiting on. Let me know what you guys think. If there's a specific day you like, do you prefer one day over the other? I know we had done Tuesday for a while. There was a while we were doing like Sunday, and I don't know. I kind of like Friday as like the public feed episode because I feel like I have, as long as I kind of get it in before the weekend, I feel good. A weekend show I'm fine doing if it's something I have to do, but I always at least try and have something ready for people out there like me who do Monday through Friday work and have a lot of stuff like that. At the same time, most shows actually don't post on weekends, so there's kind of a benefit on either or, but either way, that's kind of explaining a little bit of that. Wanted to thank everybody once again who came out and went to the Metaphor panel at Naka Kon. That being at midnight, I had talked about it before. I was like, there is a chance like 3 people show up to this thing, and I'm one of those 3. So what's funny is it was a lot more active than I thought, and the convention as a whole was very, very full of people. And what's even crazier is the fact that like it was a midnight panel on a Saturday of a weekend that just had insane weather. Like Friday had extreme winds. There was like a dust bowl in Kansas. And then that Saturday night during the panel, it was like snowing. Just completely out of nowhere in March. It was very, very weird. So we had about, I would say, maybe like a fourth or a third of the room full at its peak. I had taken a picture shortly before starting, but we had a good amount of people kind of rolling in, and a surprisingly large amount, if not half and half, was like male to female, which was kind of surprising for Metaphor. And also, again, anime convention, not really sure how much bleed over there is compared to something like a Persona, let alone an SMT. I know, like, when I've done Persona panels, has a lot more of a crossover, or just a lot more people in general, in terms of like, oh, I watched the Persona 5 anime, the Persona 4 animes, the movies for Persona 3, stuff like that, let alone everyone else out there who plays the games and does stuff like that. Had some fun memories and experiences, though, while I was at the convention. One I need to do a video of. I found, in the year of our Lord 2025, I somehow found Persona 5 Tactica merch. And it is nothing fancy, but this is like the first time outside of an Atlas event I have found anything for this game. It's like a little storage case, like you'd put accessories or whatever in there. I'll do a little short or video later this week and have people check it out. But I saw it on Friday and did like a triple take. I was like, "What is this?" And it was like 15 bucks. I looked up comps on eBay. There's almost nothing. I'm sure it was like some giveaway or some tchotchke thing in Japan. And I think 15 is fine, but it was one of those items of like there were two of them. It was at a pretty small. I know actually the booth was pretty big. They had like about like two booths worth of stuff. And what was funny was I was like, I'll see if it's there Saturday. If there was maybe one left on Saturday, I would pick it up. If both were still there on Sunday, I was like, I'll definitely just be like, hey, I'll give you $10 cash. Will you take it? And what's funny is the guy on Sunday when both were still there, I brought it up to him. I was like, "Hey, I'll give you a 10 for this." He had this like look on his face, like, "Ah, damn, I don't want to say yes to this. That $5, that's a whole $5 hairs there." But what's funny is I don't know. I wouldn't have even felt bad because again, I'm asking if he'll take $5 off of it. It's more of a I'm not looking for a yes or I'm gonna walk. I'm like, if he says yes, great. I've got the cash. He's not having to pay. Not he's not having to pay, but he's making something, one less thing to bring home, stuff like that. And I know that it's definitely not an item this guy paid $15 for. Like he's definitely still making money on this. And as soon as he said that, my wife was next to me and she was looking through the keychains, and I totally forgot when we were looking at the keychains on Friday that there was a bunch of Hello Kitty Sailor Moon stuff, and I forget what year it was. Maybe it had been like 4 or 5 years ago, but there was an official Sanrio Sailor Moon collab, and it was a bunch of the ones she had wanted. And at that point, the guy had said yes to my thing, and I knew I wasn't going to be that guy and be like, oh, well, since we're buying more, do you want to take even more off if I pay in cash? So I still walked out of there paying them like 34, 35 bucks or whatever for like two keychains in a box, but it was just very funny of the reluctantness some booths will have of cash, especially conventions. I find interesting. I think it's especially interesting if you do a lot of conventions, whether it be for comics, video games, or anime conventions. I notice anime conventions seem to be a little bit more, for lack of a better word, tightwaddy when it kind of comes to vendors. Just in the sense of like, there will be weird times of like, if you think you have a deal and it's too good to be true, you should probably just jump on it. Um, and if it like when it comes to figures, I especially kind of knowing how much usually people get figures for, and a lot of the time what these figures cost, it's very kind of interesting the mental processes they go through, unless it's something like they took a total wash on and it's an older item. I totally get that. Every situation's different. Prices fluctuate and go up and down all the time. I was like just lamenting something recently. I guess not lamenting. I was looking back on something amazingly. We had sold some Pokemon cards recently, and one of them was like this Drowsy from like Scarlet Violet, and its like height it was like 85 bucks, and we had sold it for 80. And my wife was like, "Oh, should we have held on to it a little bit longer? Like we've had this thing for like 2 plus years. Like we pulled it when Scarlet and Violet came out, but the Pokemon card market, especially singles, was going crazy 2 months ago. Not even 2 months ago, a month ago. And I was like, it's really expensive. Like 80 bucks for this one card that nobody wanted a couple years ago. It was like, let's just pull it. It's good just to have it find a good home. And yeah, like I saw a video recently of the price for that card we had sold for 80 bucks. Went from 85 to I think now it's below 40. So it's already lost over like half of its value, if not almost closer to 20. So stuff like that, I get it when markets are a lot more volatile. I totally get it for conventions. But what's funny is there were two instances. One of I really should have jumped on this when I had the chance, but also wasn't that big of a deal in retrospect. There was one booth a buddy of mine actually works for, and they had some One Piece packs, and there's this very, very hard to find One Piece set called EB01. It's like an extra booster set, so there's not sleeves of it. They didn't include it with any extra product. It was like you bought it in a box, and that's the only way you were going to get sleeves. They didn't do a lot of reprints of it, especially in English, and there's some cards in there that are pretty expensive. and I saw this booth that was selling packs for $8. That's just about two times over MSRP. But for a discontinued pack, especially one as rare as that one, at a convention, $8 is actually a really good deal for that set. And on Friday, like 10 minutes before they were closing, I must have been like the first one who was asking them because they were still unpacking. I was like, "Oh, hey, how many of those pink packs do you have?" They were $8. And the guy was like, "Oh, this is the only one I have. We're still looking for more. If you want to come back tomorrow, I should have more." And I knew then, I was like, he will either have no more or they will correct the price and gouge me on this. And I was not wrong. I went back first thing on Saturday morning, and the guy, I think, had him priced to like 16 to $20 a pack. And I was like, no, I'm good, man. I didn't need it at $8. I definitely don't need it at market price. And another like funny one. This will be my last convention story. I've gone off on this way longer than I thought I would for an intro. But for whatever reason, I shouldn't say for whatever reason, she loves Sailor Moon. Mary really, really wanted, there was this specific Sailor Moon, or I guess specifically like Queen Serenity, Sailor Moon Cosmic, which I think was the last movie that came out. Let me make sure. Not Cosmic, but Cosmo. Yeah, Sailor Moon Cosmos, the one that came out last year, or I guess 2023 in Japan, 2024 in the West. There was a Queen Serenity figure which came out through like Crunchyroll and stuff. It was about like $100 figure. And again, this is one of those things of like, hey, if you see it at a good price and you can justify it, you probably should. What was funny was there was a booth that was selling it at like just over $100. Basically, like what they probably bought it for at cost with tax, it was like maybe 115. And it's a pretty decent sized Sailor Moon figure. I was like, let's see what your budget is. Let's wait till tomorrow. We don't need to haul this thing around all day. And let's just wait. So, of course, when we got there on Saturday, it had sold. She was very, very upset. And we knew there were at least one other booth that had it. So we went to that booth, and they had it for like 245, like double of what it was market going for. And even on eBay, the price of that thing had gone down quite considerably. I think like 120, 130 was about where eBay was at. And I called the guy over and I said, "Hey, I know it's Saturday, but because they were so over market price on this figure, I didn't even give him a number. I was like, what would you be willing to lower the price of this to?" And I explained to them, I'm like, this thing's not that rare. There are a lot of them on eBay, and it does not go for anywhere near over $200. And I was like, I've got cash. What could you do for me? And I like talked to two different people at that booth, and they all looked at me like, what are you talking about? Like, what are you saying? It was so funny of like, I don't know if people maybe like, do people just really lowball at anime conventions, like insultingly lowball to the point where they just don't think of doing it or never want to do it? Or maybe I was just being stupid in how I was describing it. I just thought it was so funny because it's not like I was like, oh, I'll give you $100 for it, cash. I was just sort of being like, what's a number you feel comfortable being at? Especially because it's Saturday, I want to be respectful with them. And I don't know what they paid for it. Maybe they got, like, and again, maybe if they got extremely hosed on it and they paid like 200 for this thing and that's why they had it at 245, who knows? It had fluctuated in price up and down, but like they just didn't really get what I was asking. And it was funny because when we had left, we were like, all right, well, we're definitely not paying like 245 to buy this at a convention. And we had already thought we'd looked at every booth at that point, and there was one booth somehow in the middle of like the artist alley that we had just completely walked past, and we'd looked at them, and it was one of those things of, oh, okay, well, let's see what they got. And it was like, oh, yep, they have it. They had it at like market price, the exact same figure, brand new, still in the shipping box and everything. And it was like, oh, okay, well, it all worked out anyway. But it was just one of those funny things of sometimes it helps, especially at conventions, if you want to look around, like very rarely, unless something in your gut is telling you, do you want to buy something at the first booth you find it at? And I guess actually to kind of tie this into Persona, one of the funny things with that though is there are times, especially if you know the type of vendors who are going to be at a convention, where you may or may not want to buy um, an item because someone else might have it cheaper, or you might find it even outside of a convention at a much cheaper price, things like that. And what's funny is one of the things I knew no one else was going to have, or I'd be shocked if anyone else had, because it had just come out the first day of Naka Kon, was the Persona 3 Weiss, Persona 3 Reload English Weiss Schwartz cards. And I went to my old place of employment, Collector's Cash. They had a booth there. They hadn't been there in forever. And I had already told them before, I was like, just bring a bunch of boxes. I'm at least going to buy like two or three. And I ended up buying some boxes there. They had them at great price. And I know a lot of those guys there, and they're always super fair with me when it comes to basically, especially because I'm never there looking to buy fucking Pokemon cards. They'll be very nice with me on the price. I'm never gonna lowball them. Especially because of my time being around them and just in the industry, I know what they're paying for shit. So I'm never gonna give them a number that's like insultingly low, and I'm gonna at least offer them something they can make money on still. So I was glad I picked up some Persona cards. But what was funny about it was I was thinking of maybe doing an unboxing, but we didn't get a chance to really open them until like Sunday, even though I bought them on Friday. And I bought a couple different cards from them. I got the new One Piece Gear 5 Luffy deck, a bunch of boxes for Weiss Schwartz, and a Chainsaw Main deck, which was cool because actually that I hadn't been able to find anywhere for a while, and I got that at a pretty good price. That was one I'd been regretting not picking up a box or starter deck of, so I went through and I opened up the Persona cards just like on the couch while we were eating breakfast. Didn't film it. I don't know if it was just because I knew there wasn't going to be anything in there, but I was like, it'd be fun to open these. And then maybe if I get something really good, I'll know I don't want any more. Or if I do really bad, I'll know I'll at least want to buy some more. Just because you don't want to buy like three boxes and then on the first box you get the big hit and then you're like, oh, well, I didn't need to buy three boxes. I already got the big hit. Spoilers, I did not get any hits. I had pretty bad boxes. I had really good luck on the Japanese ones, so I knew I was going to be spoiled a little bit. So for anyone out there who does not know, and I'll show hits, I'll probably put like a picture on Twitter or the Facebook group of my polls. I don't know why I haven't done that yet. But the way the Weiss Schwartz set works, it is a special set, and by that, when I mean special set, it's a complete ripoff. Only kind of joking. So there's no deck for this set. There's only a premium booster pack that you can buy in a box. Every box has 6 packs. Normally, a booster box is going to have anywhere between 12 to like maybe 16 or 20 if it's crazy for like a amount of booster packs. So it's a smaller box, and the Japanese one is the exact same, but here's the catch. Every pack only has 4 cards. There's 3 normal cards and 1 hot stamped card. So the hot stamped cards are basically they are one of the normal type cards with the chance of them being textured or foiled. There are like 8 signature cards from the Atlas dev team. And what's actually cool about that is we found out the week that those came out that the Atlas team actually made brand new English signatures for the set, which they've never done before. That was really crazy. I would like to get one. The market does not seem to want this set at all. It's a pretty whatever set. There's a lot of just like kind of reused art. There's not a lot of new illustrations in there, and most of the signed cards, give or take 2, are all just of the protagonist. Like, there's very little waifu cards in this one, and Weiss is very much known for Hololive, Nikkei, all the waifu kind of stuff like that. Anything that's like primarily male oriented normally isn't like that much of a heavy hitter. But I did get some cool hot stamped cards. I got, for the fact that the set, by the way, there's only like 60 cards. There's 60 normal cards and then 68 altogether of the rare hot stamped cards. The fact that I got 2 duplicates is very insulting, but whatever. I got a lot of different holo cards based on my Japanese ones, which was nice. So I got a lot of Aegis and Makoto. The main protagonist had a bunch of those cards. I had a really cool Akihiko and Polydeuces. There's a holo version of him with a persona next to them. And if you haven't seen my unboxing, I think if I buy another box, I might do like just a one box unboxing or however many I kind of end up getting. Because especially if the price doesn't go crazy, and I said I could see myself wanting to get another box here and there just because they're not crazy expensive. And they're fun to kind of give out, especially if I get duplicates, which we'll talk about later. And what's funny is the cards are pretty limited in terms of who you're going to get. There are no social links. The only characters you can pull are main protagonist, Junpei, Yukari, Akihiko, Mitsuru, Fuka, Ken, Koromaru, Shinji, all the Seeds members, no Akutsuki, which is extra weird, the three antagonists, so Chidori, June, why am I forgetting his name? I have him on here with it. Not Jesus. Why am I forgetting his name? No, it's Jin. So yeah, you have all three of the Strega members. You have Elizabeth and Igor from the Velvet Room. And, Takaya. That's why it was his name. And for most of the interesting cards, it's all going to be the Seas members. So what's cool is there are some brand new illustrations that are drawn just for this set from the Atlas team, which is really, really nice. Sometimes Weiss has been known to do like guest artist card. They did a lot of that for Persona 4. There's none in this set, unfortunately. That's kind of one of the reasons I want to import the Battle Spirits set for P3R. Mostly because there's a lot of brand new art in that set, and also they have stuff from Episode Aegis, which this has nothing from Episode Aegis. So you have a lot of standard art. Oh, I'm sorry, there's also Pharos. I guess Pharos is kind of a weird one, and Ryoji. So along with that, you have everyone's all-out attack screens. They are the like sideways horizontal cards. So you've got like Done and Dusted, Kneel Before Me, all those ones like that. And then there's also cards of the menu silhouettes of the characters. So when you're looking at the characters in the like menu or status screen, where it shows like those official art renders with their primary colors, like Fuka is green, your character is blue. Ken is orange, stuff like that. Aegis is yellow. All of those they have, and every single one of these cards can have a nice holographic version. The holo patterns are normally not anything too crazy. The menu ones have kind of like a fabric-y texture feeling. There are sort of like a galaxy texture that is behind a lot of the like Sujima drawings, and the ones that are of the character with their persona, that's just kind of like a shattered glass effect on the cards. Really, really nice set though. I knew it was going to be, it was going to hit a little different, especially if I don't have an SP card after having pulled one. And I've opened this in Japan, which I very rarely ever do normally before buying anything, because I just thought, oh, there's no way this set's going to come out in English. So, why am I talking about these cards for so long, you may ask? Well, A, I haven't really talked about it anywhere. And B, we're actually doing a Patreon pledge drive for the month of March. So at least by the time you're hearing this, you should have 3 or 4 days to enter. So if you are wanting to support the show, we've talked about this all the time. I always do a terrible job at advertising it, but best way to support me on whether it be YouTube or Facebook or wherever we post, the best way, at least monetarily, to support, if you can, is patreon.com/SMTN. We've got 2 different tiers. Dollar tier gets you the show early. Normally, there's exclusive giveaways and different things like that. The $5 and up tier are the executive producer tier. That's where I will say your name at the either beginning. Mostly, it's at the end of the show. I guess we can do it now while we're talking about it. Just kind of explain really what it's for. And the executive producers for this month, big thanks to everybody. The support this year in general has been awesome. We've been doing so well at not only kind of keeping momentum, but also slowly kind of growing the patrons for SMTN, which really helps a lot for me, not only financially, but also just kind of keeping me motivated and keeping me going for longer and longer as we go on. So big thanks to all of the executive producer patrons who are either donating $5 or more. We've got Rip the Jacker, Twist, John Massey, Jesus Coon, Crazy Sloth, Michael Wilson, Del Chill, Preacher's Game, Sabrina, Stuart Bateman, Budweiser Tall Can, Carlos Hernandez, Carmen Sharp. Oh, you know what I just realized? My filter is off. There we go. I was like, man, there's a lot of names. There we go. I was like, hold on a minute. The active was not on. Still, shout out to all those people. Those people have been patrons or executive producer patrons at one time or another. But big thanks to all of them. These are the current executive producers as of March 24th, 2025. Rip the Jacker, Twist, John Massey, Jesus Coon, Crazy Sloth, Michael Wilson, Budweiser Tall Can, Carlos Hernandez, Cross Ren Ren, Wenny, Jagingus, Gorosero, Solaire, Stephen Yip, and Patrick Dissart. Thank you all so much. Especially thank you to Jesus Coon, who I actually got to meet for a little bit at Naka Kon. It was very nice to talk with you for a little bit. I was probably extremely dead and extremely tired or rushing to things every time we met. You met me, I think, we first met at the TCG panel I had done, and then slowly met before the Metaphor panel had started. But it was very nice getting to talk with you. The fact that you would actually come out there and actually said hi, had never been to that convention before, really meant a lot to me. But especially big thank you for not only being a longtime supporter, but wanting to be extra nice and be a executive producer at least for this month. But what the heck is the pledge drive for? The pledge drive is mostly just my way of saying, hey, I want to give something back to everyone who has either been supporting for 1 month or for many years. And this month, because of the Persona 3 Reload cards, I thought what would be a fun way of kind of giving back, and that would be doing a pledge drive with all of my extra cards. So if you are either listening to this or have already seen on the Patreon account, if you comment before March ends, so basically anything before April Fool's Day, if you comment on that post and are an active paid member of the Patreon at any level, $1, $5, whatever level you feel comfortable with, it charges monthly, you just got to comment on there, I would like some free cards. And if you want to say, I'm looking for a C's member, I want Koromaru, I want someone from Strega, I want Elizabeth, just let me know. And then I will message everybody for their address and then ship it out over the course of April. So it's open worldwide to everybody. I will try and get everyone at least one card that they asked for and maybe like another tchotchke or two. Won't be anything too crazy, but I just really wanted to thank all the patrons. We've got a ton right now. Let me actually see what the number is. So if we just do active patron members, and you can join it for free as well. Free is mostly just kind of like a nice thing to do. But yeah, we've got over 30 active paying patron members, which is really cool. Back in the day, I know the Patreon's kind of ebbed and flowed in terms of how tiers work or how many people we had. But I think in terms of most members, it's the most members we have had overall. And the split between the $1 tier and the $5 tier, I always really appreciate because, well, obviously, as you can tell, I appreciate any amount you guys pledge. The fact that people enjoy the show enough or enjoy what I do enough that they want to pledge the $5 a month really means a lot to me. So that was our fun little halfway thing. So let's get into topic of the show. Believe it or not, we're not just rambling for like 40 minutes this week. Topic of the show, Persona 3 got remade in 2024. So of course everyone was thinking, alright, when are we remaking Persona 4? And just recently, a domain was registered, very similar to Persona 3 Reload, called Persona 4R. And here's the thing. We saw that a website was registered. Anyone could register a website called P4R. We do not know it was Atlas. But the trends are very similar. Looks very similar to what they did with Persona 3 Reload 2 years ago. Because if you all remember, there were rumors for many, many months that there was a Persona 3 remake, but we didn't know until June of 2023 officially that then it would be coming out in February of 24. Which is wild to think that that was P3R released over a year ago. Still very wild to me. And I don't think it is that crazy to assume a Persona 4 remake is something that they are either working on or will be announcing in the relative future, if not near future. And there's a really interesting discussion about this going on in the sense of, stop me if you've heard this before, the vocal minority loves to say that they are not looking forward to this, that this is a bad idea. And what's funny is there's a lot of people, when Persona 3 got announced as getting a remake, that were very excited. I was actually one of the few naysayers, I feel like, and not even to be a contrarian. I've been very open. I'm like, I did not think Persona 3 needed a remake. I bought it just out of support of the developers. I wanted to play the game they made, and I was completely wrong. I was like, oh yeah, no, this holds up so much better than I had ever thought. It looks great, plays great. And I was very, very excited for Reload. Oh, sorry. I was very, very happy that I got Reload, even though I wasn't excited before it was coming out. And what's funny is, you would think then in a post-Persona 3 Reload world, where this game came out and universally was very well received. It sold tremendously well. It reviewed tremendously well. Yes, there are people who might prefer one version over another. I still love Persona 3 Portable, for instance. But it's very interesting that just a year after Persona 3 Reload released, the idea of Atlus doing it again with a game even more popular, well, I shouldn't say more popular, but with a game just as popular, if not more popular, than Persona 3, with Persona 4. Remember, both games are PlayStation 2 era RPGs. The most recent release, not including ports, is Persona 4 Golden, a game that released 13 years ago on the PlayStation Vita. The most recent versions of its release was on January of 3. And Atlus did the same thing. They released Portable a year before Reload for Persona 3. So the idea of doing it for Persona 4 is not that crazy. Now, I'll give my thoughts on it and speculations for what I think this is. And remember, we're taking this with the biggest grain of salt, because there's also a chance that this isn't a real thing, but I think the conversation of what this remake could be is also very interesting in terms of what it could be, what it couldn't be, and what not to expect, and just realistic expectations and things like that. So I posted polls on Twitter, maybe Bluesky, YouTube, Discord, Facebook group, all that stuff, saying, not, do you want Persona 4 Remake? I said, would you play Persona 4 Remake? Every comment, give or take one or two maybe, on every platform was something negative of, no, we don't need it, I'm not excited for it, who asked for this, blah, blah, blah. And then every poll, no matter where I posted, overwhelming, the answer was yes. Every person in the majority, the silent majority, said that they would play it. Myself included. I mean, I would play a remake of Persona 4. I love Persona 4. And so it kind of got me thinking of, like, we always talk about, hey, don't take the hive mind with too much seriousness, in the sense of, like, it's called the vocal minority for a reason. Sorry, it's called the silent... Sorry. It's called the silent... No, the vocal minority, yes. So it is called the vocal minority for a reason. This is a smaller group of people being louder about a situation, even though they are not the majority. The majority of people out there clearly would play a remake of Persona 4. Again, this game from 2008 getting remade, that hasn't been ported, well, not hasn't been ported, hasn't been meaningfully remade onto a new system in 13 plus years. Not a crazy ask. Excuse me there. So, something to chew and think on. I could kind of split up and talk about the different things of, like, why are people not excited about it versus why are people wanting to play it. I think a lot of it is there are genuinely people out there who think resources being put towards anything that's not Persona 6 is slowing down Persona 6, which is just not true. You have proof of that just from 2023 to 2024 alone. In 2023 to 2024 ending, Atlas released Persona 3 Portable, Persona 4 Golden, Persona 5 Tactica, Persona 3 Reload, SMT5 Vengeance, Unicorn Overlord. Well, not even counting Unicorn Overlord. That's a different dev team. But they also released Metaphor, and all of these things came out over 5 different games directly from either P Studio adjacent or Atlas developed internal studios themselves, not Vanillaware. They released so many projects, all internally developed. With the exception of the ports, like the Portable and Golden, but different projects. But even that, you've got Tactica, Reload, SMT5 Vengeance, and Metaphor all being made internally, and none of them slowing down or impeding the development of Persona 6. Persona 6, a thing that, again, we've known has been in active development since early to late 2020 or 2021. And we know that it's being made by the Royal team. Part of those teams have worked on things like Tactica, like Scramble, like the ports, or even things like Soul Hackers, SMT, Metaphor, things like that. Team members have bounced around, but the majority of that creative team who worked on Royal are working on P6. The team who worked on Persona 3 Reload is not even the same team who worked on the episode Aegis DLC expansion. So they have multiple teams, multiple projects, multiple people who can work on these things and help make them come out at a quicker pace. And what's also important to remember with that is that even though this game has not been announced, look at the most recent trend of Atlas games from announcement to release. They clearly do not want to go back to the old P5 days of announce something, months go by, delay. Months go by, delay. I think they also still have a lot of egg on their face from the 25th anniversary announcements, or lack thereof. Considering how bad those shit the bed throughout 2021 and 2022, they have nothing to lose by keeping their cards close to the chest and have all the control over the marketing beats, over how everything is being handled. And I think looking at what they did even with Metaphor, which is a much more closer allegory to Persona 6 than a Persona 3 Reload, just from a development time and a budget thing, even Metaphor, from its initial announcement, which I won't even count Project Refantasy. I'm counting 2023 Microsoft Showcase briefing from June 2023 to October 2024. That's a pretty solid timeline of show the game, demo the game, preview the game, talk about the game, release the game, no delays. I didn't even believe that there would be no delays, which is crazy. I was like, there's no way this game's going to make 2024. And they did. They crushed it. They did a great job. And I have no reason, and I think other people should be in the same boat of like, yeah, there's no reason not to give P Studio that exact same courtesy that we give Metaphor to Persona 6. The team who's working on Persona 4 Remake, if there was to even be one officially, is more than likely the same team who did the Persona 3 Reload team. It might even be a different team that was working on it in tandem with Persona 3. And they were like, well, we'll see how the reception is to it. Oh, okay, the reception was good. We'll see how it sells. One of the best-selling Persona games of all time. And they're like, okay, well, let's do it with Persona 4. Why not? The groundwork is there. I'm sure it'll be an Unreal if it's a thing. And there are way less kind of things to worry about in the sense of, oh, which version do we bring over? What content do we include? It'll be Golden. There's nothing from Golden that has any reason to not be in any remake or future release of Persona 4 anything. And the funniest thing about it is I've been seeing these knuckleheads on Twitter thinking, oh, well, Atlas is going to nickel and dime us. They're going to episode IGUS this. The only reason episode IGUS exists, and Atlas has said this themselves, the only reason episode IGUS happened is because fans wanted it. Episode IGUS is not this universally loved piece of Atlas history. I was an episode IGUS hater. I was like, this sucks. I don't want to play this. I would rather Persona 3 released with no episode IGUS than with it. And then they saw that there were enough people out there who were like, oh, well, we really would like the answer. We'd like more with IGUS. We'd like to do stuff. And we've talked about it before on the show, but they were like, okay, people were excited for Reload, but the biggest points of contention were, where's the female protagonist and where's the answer? And the amount of work that would take to get the female protagonist did not make sense for them, especially how deep into development they were. But for a premium DLC expansion, they could make a 30 to 40 hour long expansion epilogue and do the answer and change the answer and improve upon the answer, at least in my opinion. So that stuff makes sense because the answer is a completely separate experience. It's not like it's the third semester in Persona 5 Royal. All the stuff in Persona 4 Golden, by the way, with Marie, is woven into the story. There's no second secret protagonist for Persona 4. All of it is spread across the game evenly, so that if you've never played Persona 4, you're not going to be going through the new content in Golden, being like, oh, yeah, this feels very weird. So, with stuff like that for a Persona 4 remake, I definitely get some trepidation. I get some bits of nervousness. Honestly, my only thing with it is like, I love the new voice cast from Persona 3 Reload, but I'm also like, oh, I've been with that cast for Persona 4 for so many years. Even though it wasn't as long as Persona 3, like, I've had Aaron as Chie. I've had obviously like Matthew Mercer and Troy Baker as Kanji for so long that I'm like, I don't know if I'm ready for them to be recast. And especially in like a still ongoing SAG strike, I don't know if they're going to have to be, if they want to be. That's a much kind of messier situation, but that has nothing to do with development. That has nothing to do with anything that's going to affect the whole project. But I wanted to give my 2 cents. I am excited if this does exist. I think if it is happening, I could see it released as soon as 2026 for an anniversary year thing. That would make a lot of sense for me. I still think Persona 6 is maybe a year or two away. I think it might make more sense to announce it either on an anniversary year with a Persona 4. I mean, hell, they could even go back and do what they did with Persona 4 to 5 of make a Persona 4 release the year before 5 and then put the teaser or something leading into the game, like a demo if you're really feeling crazy. But, like, do something of like, hey, did you buy Persona 4 Remake? Well, here you go. You get a demo or an exclusive trailer to Persona 6, and there you go. There's a lot of things they could do with it. I think if it doesn't come out this year, it's not the end of the world. Atlas had such an insane year last year. I don't think they're in any hurry to I don't even know if they want to try and have anything come out. I think anything major coming out from them this year would be very shocking. That's why I'm in the camp of P4 Remake would probably be a early January or February release again, just like Persona 3 was, but for 2026. Everyone is still so shy or scared of GTA. I can't really blame them. But that is me. I've been ranting long enough. Nice 40-something minute solo show. Let me know what you think. Did you enjoy this? Did I ramble about convention stuff for too long? How have you all been doing? By the way, congrats to... Let me pull it up. Metaphor won something at the Game Developers Conference Award. I think it was for Best Story. Let me make sure. GDC Award 2025. I think it was for Best Story. Let's take a gander here. Yes, so there were a lot of things that Metaphor was nominated for, but the 2025 GDC Awards just happened last week, and While Metaphor was nominated for a lot of different things, and I do mean a lot of different things, the only one it did win was Best Narrative, which, by the way, an absolutely wild list of things to be nominated with it. The nominees for Best Narrative were Thousand Times Resist, which I still need to get to, Black Myth Wukong, wild, Like a Dragon 8, Metaphor, Mouthwashing, also wild, need to get to that. And then the honorable mentions in that were FF7 Rebirth, Frostpunk 2, Life is Strange, Neva, Senua Saga 2. Absolutely, absolutely crazy list of nominees, but we made it into the show. We've already talked about all the patron stuff, but don't forget the Patreon pledge drive. Don't forget to comment. That'll be the post that's not this episode for the week. But thank you all so much for listening. I will be back next week with something fooly. Maybe coolly, maybe fully. No pillows, though. Too soon, I know. But thank you all so much for listening. Hope you enjoy. Give me a comment. Don't forget to give us some love on Patreon. YouTube is free. iTunes reviews are free. Spotify reviews are free. I always forget to tell people, if you want to support the show, you don't have to give us money. Money helps. I'm very poor. Don't forget. But reviews, sharing, retweeting, all the easy stuff. Or at least I think it's easy. It's a lot easier than doing the show. If you like the show at all, if you're just one of those people who share it with a retweet or whatever, even if you have like 6 followers, really, really does help. So, thank you, everybody. I am working on a special YouTube video. I've got a couple different video ideas, but I've got one that I've actually got started. So that will be going up later this week. My goal, I'm trying to get one video, one podcast per week as the thing. And I mean like a full-ass, real edited video. Not like me with my monkey brain open something. So, not trying to do that. But that's the plan. We're trying to make it real. We're manifesting it into existence. Have a good rest of your week. I will see you all later. Hopefully nothing crazy gets announced or leaked, but you never know. 2025 is a weird time. See you, everybody. Bye.